Hello, my name is Cedric Dzelu and I serve as the Acting Executive Secretary of the African Youth Commission. The reason why we are gathered in Nairobi is essentially to convene 50 young people across the 8 countries where the AYC project is taking place to train these young people on advocacy, empowerment, and justice, in the face of storytelling, because we truly believe that these young people who are essentially communicators drawn from their journalistic point of view have the capacity to tell climate stories, mostly untold stories that go unheard. And we want to be able to build the capacities of these young people to be at the forefront of telling the stories of their communities. The moment that stood out for me has been the entire 3 days. Each day carry with itself great promise as far as deliveries are concerned. I'll start from today. As you can see, we are here at the Kenyan Forest Service Ululua, where we are participating in understanding nature conservation and also tree planting exercise. We have been to other 3 places where we have witnessed at first hand how waste, plastic waste, electronic waste are being collected and are being processed. We have also been to other areas looking at the signs of climate change. Beyond that, we've seen the other 2 days coming face to face with training these young people, where speaker after facilitator taking these young people through various sessions that sought to provide the tools and the skills for these young people to better their skills in storytelling. The evidence on the ground from what we have heard from the feedback is very telling that this has been a very impactful program to these young people, and I think that they're not going home the same. The impact I look forward to see is to place these young people at the center and front of the movement, that these young people will return back home as the voices of their communities, emboldened as a result of this training and having the required skills that is needed to tell the African story, the narrative that is needed, which of course, like I said before, often unheard, often untold. And we want these young people to be able to convey the spirit of their communities and the stories, elevate it to platforms that can be heard by decision makers, that can be heard by policy makers, leaders, for great action. And I have no doubt that from here we are going to receive very deep, telling impact stories from these 8 countries, which would give oxygen to our program and for convening these 50 young people here in Nairobi. The 3 barriers to climate justice in Africa, first of all, I was put number 1 at financing. That financing is not at the level that we need it to be, in terms of mobilizing people, in terms of advocating for this, in terms of pushing for policy, in terms of bringing the equity in the system. Number 1. Number 2, we look at the inequality. The inequality gap is so huge that sometimes bringing people along, sometimes addressing climate injustice becomes a burden on itself. And then finally, I would look at it at the political will. Government after government have spoken about climate change. Leaders have spoken about climate change. However, the sort of political commitment that is needed from government to be able to address this monster head on is not forthcoming. And it's about time that leaders embrace the bull by the horn. If I could speak to my younger activists today about climate change, the simple message is to act now. As Cedric, and of course beyond me, to every young person to take action. That my community needs me, society needs me, and my action is important, and my action can make a difference. And that action should be now, to act now.